Hello. Happy Monday, everybody. Just waiting to see if we are having people tune in and making sure that everything is good to go and we are live here. Yes, hello. Hi, Jennifer. Good to see you. If you are tuning in, give us a quick wave or hello. Let me know where you're watching from. We have an exciting interview today with DJ Osho, and I am so thrilled. We were talking earlier a bit about her story, and I'm telling you, this is going to be a fantastic conversation and enlightening for all of us. I'm just waiting to make sure that we're connected here. We are going live today on Facebook, Periscope, which is with Twitter, and YouTube. And all of these broadcasts, of course, are able to be viewed afterward as well. Feel free to share with your friends. You can host a watch party if you're on Facebook, and then you can share it on afterward as well. And we will be even getting it into our legacy schools this year once we do get back into those schools. So just waiting for a second to make sure we are all good to go. Thanks again. All right. And we have Irene backstage in our proverbial digital backstage right now and is going to come and share with us in a second. But I want to tell you a little bit about her first. So Irene Askew, aka DJ Osho, has experience teaching with an inspired approach. She's an inspirational speaker, having traveled across the country to bring ambition and drive to all generations, and is an elected member and spokesperson for the Squamish Nation Council. That's a wasp, I'm sorry. Osho has DJ'd the red carpet for We Day Vancouver and was voted the official DJ for Yes in Ottawa since 2012 and the official DJ for Gathering Our Voices for 5 years, hosted and emceed numerous events, including Bowling for Big Brothers Classic, Babes on Babes, Hershey, and working for radio stations as well. She's a recipient of the 2015 BC Indigenous Business Award and the 2018 Standout Award from the Vancouver Pride Society. So DJ Osho, she comes from a diverse background. She's driven by her passion as an Afro-Canadian and First Nations and proud member of the Squamish Nation. Feeling as though she stood out in a unique way, she has embraced both her cultural backgrounds and incorporates the teaching she has learned into everything that she does. This is awesome. We're so excited to have her here. DJ Osho, Irene, welcome.
Hi.
Hi, great to see you.
See you too.
You saw my wasp friend I was just telling you about. I don't know if you noticed, she kind of flew right up into my face as I was trying to eat the bio. Now she's eating a strawberry over there. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I smell like strawberries. Yeah. So if there's like a concerned look or a bit of horror on my face, you know what's happening. I'm just trying to make sure she's keeping her social distance. And now she's, oh my. Okay. So anyway, welcome. So good to have you. I gave a little bit about your background. I mean, you're a motivational speaker, you're DJing, you're doing so much work, you're a member of the Squamish Nation. I know that this is only scratching the surface of your story, though, that there's so much more to who you are and to what you're doing right now.
Yeah, it's hard to fit everything in for a bio. I think a lot of artists can understand that. You just don't want to miss anything out. I just wanted to say that the pronouns that I go by are she and her, and I'm a two-spirited activist as well. I do a lot of work out in the community, and I think it's really important work that we need to do for two-spirited people to be included.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and that's I mean, the work of that, or even understanding pronouns. I know we've had other guests where we've had to ensure that we're really mindful and we're clarifying that. And that's been quite a journey, I'm sure, of identity and discovery for yourself, but then also sharing with others of how to respect and to help bring forward your story in a good way.
Yeah, I use the analogy with pronouns. It's what you identify by, but it's like, say you get misgendered. I get misgendered quite a bit. But people, sometimes they can make it a little awkward. Like they'll apologize. I'm like, it's okay. Like, you know, that's just not correct. But I use the analogy. It's kind of like getting somebody's name wrong. If you call somebody a different name, they probably or pronounce it wrong. Or I kind of go by that analogy. And it's just about educating people, just about how important pronouns are.
Yeah, that's excellent. Great. Well, what's it been like for you in this time of quarantine? I mean, normally you're traveling quite a bit, I imagine. You're speaking, you're DJing, and now you're at home.
Yeah, it's been an interesting shift. I've gotten a few virtual DJ gigs, which is really different from DJing in front of crowds of 50 to 2,000 people. But we're artists and we kind of got to keep it moving. And I've been blessed to get more and more gigs, virtual that is, but it's still a lot of fun. And we have to get really creative with our backgrounds and our lights and things like that. And it's really cool because we can keep the video and kind of promote more that way. But yeah, it's been interesting DJing in my living room.
Yeah. Do you find that there's an interactive, like I've been part of some dance parties, some virtual dance parties. On the weekend, there were some people walking outside my apartment and saw me dancing by myself. Like no one was watching, but evidently people were watching. How do you retain that sense of connection with people? Because connection's been such a big part of what you do. But if you're on a screen, it's like I'm DJing by myself in my living room. How do you still feel like you're there with them? Is there something you have to do as an artist to get into that place?
Well, for me, I have to keep moving. Like I have to keep dancing. And I have my microphone stand where the mic is like directly at my face. So if I want to say anything or something comes to my mind, I kind of improvise and just kind of do it on the spot or give shout outs or things like that. But yeah, you gotta keep it moving because if you stop, it's just gonna get non-interactive for people. And that's definitely what we don't want as a DJ.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of interactive, for anybody watching, you can put a comment in and I will show Irene and she could answer your questions or have a chat. So feel free to make sure that you're part of this conversation, interacting with us too. Yeah, that's great. So when's your next DJ gig then? Can we come and join?
Actually, I have one this Friday, and the festival is called the Virtual Powwow Festival. So you can check
Oh
that
my
out
gosh.
online.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
going to write that down. Virtual Powwow Festival. I'll see if I can find a link and I'll drop the link in here as well. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it's put on by Drum Beats, a company called Drum Beats, and they're based out of Alberta. And I got asked to join. It's Indigenous DJs from across the country, actually, and they've been doing it since about the end of March. And so they've been kind of doing it every other weekend. And it's really cool because I know a lot of the DJs from being on the road and stuff and just different genres. And it's just kind of keeping the party going and with other Indigenous DJs across the country is just really cool.
That's amazing. Okay, I just found a link. I'm dropping that link in for everyone. Oops, I didn't do that very well. I forgot the link part. Here's the link. Virtual Powwow Fest. So DJ Osho will be playing this Friday. That is so exciting. Yeah, there I see your name, and it looks like it's streaming live on Twitch, so we can all, yeah. And right here, Jennifer has the word. I'm Osho's fave fan.
That's my mom.
Oh, right. Okay. Before we even started, so like, yeah, your mom was all over it because I wasn't on Write It too, and she's like, I'm waiting. I was like, oh my gosh, step in there. Well, yeah, Jennifer, you've raised an incredible person. Like we were talking earlier, and I'm just so excited to have you because the way that you convey your message, and we were talking a bit about identity and how inspiring that is to other people because you're even helping people to overcome bullying or uncertainty of who they are, to have the bravery and courage to embrace differences. And like, what does that banner behind you say? Actually, I think that's part of it. Hold on, let everyone have a look here.
Okay, that's my Osho banner, and it says diversity makes beautiful music. That's my tagline there, and then we've got the logo. There you go. That was actually done by Kikoy Joseph.
You freeze a little bit there.
Oh, okay.
There's a little bit of a delay or freeze, but yeah, your logo's there. It's always funny because I'll move to the right, but go to the left, and
yeah,
a mirrored image. Yeah, so diversity makes beautiful music.
That's my tagline I came up with my business coach. It's funny because she tries to take all the credit for it, but I was there too, and we did it together. But just something that is like me and something different, something unique. And I feel like with DJing, that's kind of what you got to do. There's a lot of DJs out there, so you got to kind of find your niche and to get involved and to be in and to continue to get gigs. It's a really a privilege and an honor that I feel really, really lucky.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a hard to keep hustling and make it happen. But yeah, the that tagline, I think you and your business coach came up with something pretty special there. But what I love about coaching is that they only bring out the gold that already exists inside you.
Yeah.
So you have,
yeah.
Diversity makes beautiful music. I mean, that's really shows a lot about your passion and purpose, and you know what you've been able to bring to people is so cool. So yeah, tell me a bit about. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say that's my thing about what I really love about DJing is when people are dancing, they have this kind of look in their eyes, like they're smiling, especially when it's a song that they haven't heard for a long time or like a new song, and they're like, "Wow!" Like, and I'm like, I have the ability to make people happy like that, so that's really important to me, and that's part of the passion that kind of keeps it going for me. Is I love making people dance and smile and for them to be happy.
Yeah. Well, Marianne here even said that tagline is perfect for any situation. Love it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So you just need to make sure you tag DJ Osho if you're using that quote, because we want to make sure it comes back around. And we have a special hello here from our friend Brad Baker. Hello, Osho.
Hi, Brad.
Hi, Brad. Hi, Brad. So Brad, for those who are watching, Brad is actually at the North Vancouver District School Board. Hope I got that right, Brad. Correct me if not. But he's been a champion of working with our organization, the Gord Downie and Chani Wenjack Fund, and our Legacy Schools program. He helped to spearhead bringing this program into so many schools in that district. And I know, Oreen, you're even like who you are is partly a product of being involved in that district as well. Like you went to school in North Van, right?
Yes, I was actually born at Lionsgate Hospital in North Vancouver. And I went to Queen Mary Elementary and then to Carson Graham and then to Capilano University. And a funny story about Brad is he was my grade 8 summer school teacher. So I had to go to summer school for grade 8 math, and he was my summer school teacher.
Oh my. That must be quite a thing. Like, I mean, here you have your mom watching, we have Brad watching, like to have people have seen you at that time, which I'm sure there were struggles and challenges. Like we talked at one point about bullying, right? And like how you created this. Would you like to tell us a bit more about that too?
Well, we're all in the Squamish Nation community, and we're just such a tight-knit community, so supportive of each other. And how I got started with DJing is I got a grant from our small business office. So I did a proposal and I got some money to start my business. So luckily, DJing is mobile. So I just bought some turntables and a computer, and I was kind of on my way, and it's been gravy ever since. And like we talked about being different in bowling and stuff, like growing up, I got teased about the gap in my teeth and just being really tall and just kind of awkward in a sense. And I always got thrown in for basketball, but I was like, I don't even like basketball. Like I like it because I'm tall. I'm 6'1". And
oh wow.
Yeah, I was like, I like music. Like I make CDs for friends with my voice on them. And my background actually is in radio broadcasting too. I went to BCIT. I had the most intense program in the country. I think it's number 2 to Ryerson. I've always heard that. But I really like that school too, because it's realistic about the industry. And it just, the first term, I always talk about it when I go back there to speak to the radio students. It's like they try to break you. I had 11 courses in the first term. It's just like, how badly do you want this? You really want to work in this industry? You gotta work really, really hard. So I did 2 years there. And then I worked at the Beat 94.5. I just kind of aged myself because it's Virgin now, Virgin Radio. So I got to get coffee and for all the suits, and just, I was so eager. And they thought like they didn't know where my energy came from. I was just like, I really, really want this, you know. I remember getting Starbucks for like 16 people once, and I almost like fell down with them. Like I just wanted to soak, I just wanted to soak up everything, everything.
Wow.
And this is when Lady Gaga first came out. With her track Just Dance, and nobody really knew who she was. And I remember they sent me to reception to grab Lady Gaga, and I was like, I don't even know who that is, so I'm gonna go. And she had, I remember her, she had bright red lipstick on and a black scarf, and I just saw her blonde bangs hanging out, and she was just so nice and so sweet. And I brought her back for an interview, and then afterwards, a couple months later, I was like, wow, that was Lady Gaga.
Wow.
Well, yeah, working in that industry and just seeing what they do, and the DJs as well, and just getting to shadow them and see what they did. It's like, this is exactly what I want to do. So I'm going to have to kind of do it myself and try to be my own boss. And I work for mobile DJ companies, and I learned a lot. They weren't paying me very well, but I got to travel around the city, and I was just like, you know what, this is a learning experience. It's not going to be for very long. So I took everything I learned from them about like crowd control, the music, and negotiating with clients and things like that. And I said, you know, I'm going to cut out the middleman. I'm going to start my own business. So that's what I did.
Wow. What a journey.
Yeah.
And it really sounds, I mean, you understood where you were at and wanting to learn. You were so hungry for learning and growing. And then, yeah, it was time to like fully open up and fly, and off you go.
Totally.
Wow. Good for you. That's awesome. What sort of, like, in the actual music end, what sparked that for you? Is there a favorite genre, or one that you tend to play more often, or DJs that you're really connected with or look up to in terms of their production? Or
yeah, it's the journey, because when I started, I was like, you know, I'm strictly going to be a hip hop and R&B DJ because that's my thing and that's what I love. But my world was just completely opened because I took DJ lessons and hung out with DJs and stuff, and there's all these different genres I just didn't even know about, and they keep adding more and more and more. It's interesting how hard you got to work to kind of keep up with the different genres. But that's my love, is R&B and hip hop. And usually when I have maybe like an hour set at a club or something like that, or like a virtual DJ session, I can play what I want, but sometimes I don't get to. That's okay though, because weddings and birthdays are great too. But those are the genres that I kind of grew up with, and those are the ones I really, really like.
yeah, oh, that's amazing. How long has, oh, look here, look, mom has something to say. Says R&B since she was a baby. Oh, you froze a bit.
Sorry, it froze.
Yeah, I was like, she's not reacting at all to what mom just said. I thought this was very nice. Yeah, R&B since she was a baby.
Oh yeah, thanks, Mom.
Great. Thanks. Yeah, no, it's great. And it's funny how like music influences us and helps to shape who we are from when we're young. And it's beautiful to see such nice support from family there. Tell us a bit more about your family, about your background, because I know that's a question that comes up a lot. And yeah, like we were chatting a bit about it in the pre-interview. I'd love to hear.
Oh, for sure. My mom is actually from the Squamish Nation, and my dad is African American from Gary, Indiana. And I always tell this story because Gary is a famous city because the Jacksons are from there. And whenever I go back to visit, when I can, my grandma and my aunties and cousins, I go to the Jacksons' house. So I've been to their house before. The tiny little shack that they grew up in, I think about 8 of them were growing up in there. And it's just really cool to see. And they named a street after them there in Gary. So it's a monument now. So I go there and take pictures. I think my dad doesn't really like to, it's kind of like a touristy thing. He's like, oh, okay, I'll take you. But I'm like, yeah, the Jacksons, one of the like biggest musical families in the world. So yeah, it's really cool to go there and see how different it is from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, like you grew up with a lot of Indigenous culture around you. But just as you mentioned, like sometimes you're misgendered, but people would also mistake your cultural identity as well.
Yeah, I talk about that a lot. It's just I've I've been at the epicenter of our culture, and it's just been like the indigenous culture has been all around me, but I don't necessarily look indigenous, and I think mixed people can relate to this. Like I'll go to different events, whether it's like a council event or even just DJing for an indigenous event, and sometimes they look at me like, what are you doing here? Like, who are you, lost or something? Like, no, I'm not lost. It's DJ Ocean.
Right.
They're like, oh, like you're DJ Ocean. Like, yeah. So it's interesting how I get treated sometimes, but most of the time it's pretty good.
You seem really light about it. Like, was there a time, did you have to almost reconcile that in yourself, or what, did that ever become a challenge or a barrier to you discovering identity when people didn't necessarily see you in the way that you were desiring to be seen?
Oh yeah, definitely. With like racism and being called the N-word sometimes by indigenous people, it's like, it's so confusing for a young person, because it's like, why, especially a mixed person, I'm like, why are they calling me that? Like I'm one of them, like that's my cousin.
Right.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's, you know what, it's something that's shaped me in who I am today. Very proud of all of my cultures, all of my spirits, and really learning how to embrace them now and just not be ashamed of who I am.
Beautiful. And you were saying that you're actually feeling a bit, I mean, you've grown up with Squamish Nation, Indigenous culture all around you, and that's been part of you. Well, it's all part of you, but you're feeling a bit of a pull more in your spirit towards embracing more of the African heritage, the African American or African Canadian. You said your dad prefers that you use one term over the other, right?
Yeah, he'll read articles about me and he's like, you're not African Canadian, you're African American. I was like, okay.
Right. I live in Canada. But that's even a question of identity generally with, I know for some Indigenous people, because of the history of colonization here and the reclamation of like Indigenous, not just around land, but around sense of self and everything else, is some people don't like calling themselves Canadian.
Yeah.
Right. So even that.
And I think as time goes on, we're just changing and evolving, because I know terms like, some people don't like hearing First Nations, some people don't like Aboriginal. It's just changing. It's actually really cool to see the change and kind of be a part of it.
What I love about it, and I'm so grateful you brought up, your pronouns at the beginning of the interview, and because it really is the same thing around gender pronouns and cultural identity is and some people, non-Indigenous people, will email us and ask, like, how do we even start this pathway towards reconciliation? It's like, part of it is asking the question and just being curious, but then letting that person that you are now connecting with or developing that relationship with to tell you who they are and to tell you how they identify, right? So I think sharing both that around being two-spirited and your pronouns, and then also like this identity that you have all these layers of who you are. It's so cool to see how you've walked that journey yourself.
Yeah, totally. And I have no problem with educating people about that, because we get requests all the time how people want to work with the Squamish Nation. And I'm on a couple of committees, like the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra Indigenous Council. And I've been on it for almost 2 years, but they were like, we want to work with you. We want to develop a relationship. Like, basically, what do we have to do? And some things that come so easy to us, and I say it sometimes in the meetings and they're just like blown away. I'm like, oh wow. And it's just somebody being there to let them know how we do things. And if you want to build a relationship, it's got to start with the relationship first. It's not like it's just, we want to work with you, or it's one email and then we're working together. It's not like that at all. But building a relationship is really important.
Yeah. You have such a warmth about you. I'm sure like anytime you're in that room, people feel really comfortable or disarmed, that they're not as so afraid to ask the questions, because you have a way of making people feel that way, right? Like, so in your motivational speaking, does that I mean, I can just imagine what it must feel like for people or for you where you're talking, but like, how do you connect? Is there something that you could share with us about how to do that so we can continue to learn together more?
Oh, for sure. And part of motivational speaking, how I got into it, I was traveling in 2012 to a youth conference in Ottawa called the Yes Conference. It's the Young Entrepreneurs Symposium. And I was a delegate there. And just before I left, it was November the 3rd, 2012. I remember it like it was yesterday. My house was involved in a house fire. Our neighbors fell asleep after having a party and decided to cook French fries. And I don't know why drunk people try to cook, but the fire started and it spread to our place. And I was the only one home at the time. And I remember just hearing somebody knock on the door, and it was like a really stern, like a cop, or I thought it was a police officer or something. And there was like, "Wake up, Maureen." That's all I heard. I said, "You got to get out." And I was like, "What's going on?" Like, I opened up my curtain and I saw smoke and flame, and I was like, okay, this is serious. So I remember panning back in my room, and people always tell that story like, "Oh, if I was in a fire, I grab this, I grab that." Like, no, that totally leaves your mind. So the closest thing to my bed, the love of my life, is my business. So I grabbed my turntables and my MacBook, and I literally started going through rooms. I felt like the Hulk. I was holding my stuff. I was kicking down doors. I looked for my mom. I even looked for my brother. And I remember opening the door, and my neighbor, her eyes were just bulging out of her head because she didn't think I was going to get out. And I ran to the side, and me and my family were literally just watching the flames like take out my room, my bedroom. And ever since then, it's no pun intended, but lit the fire in my butt and said, the creator did, and said, if this is what you're going to do, you got to get out there and help people who have been through this experience. And so when I went to that conference in Ottawa, I wasn't going to tell that story, and I did. And the reaction was just unreal. Like, everybody in the room was crying. People were piling up money in front of me, like these Indigenous people from across the country that I didn't even know. And I went home that trip with about $3,000 that people had raised for me. I was like, these are people I don't even know. And this is something that happens on reserves across Turtle Island. Is sometimes there's house fires and sometimes the kids don't get out. So I was really, really fortunate to get out of that alive. And I really like Batman. So I kind of think of myself as kind of like a superhero, sort of. I got out of a fire.
Oh. So. As you're describing that, I had this like vision of you like down the hallway, turntables in one arm, your MacBook, like even seeing your logo behind you. I'm like, she's got her headphones on, she's kicking down doors, she's saving lives. Like, it was just, it's this visual, and no doubt that that's such a powerful story that resonates. Wow.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so interesting with DJing. I was like, okay, I'm going to be a DJ. This is what I'm going to do. Weddings, birthday parties, I'm set, club nights. But as time has gone on, and just sharing my story too, like, it's opened up so many different doors. Like, that's the bright light clicked in when I got that reaction from telling that story. And then like I'm doing acting now. I do voiceover work. It's just like so many doors just from starting there and just getting out there and meeting people and networking. And it's just, I feel blessed. I feel really blessed.
Well, it's clear those blessings are coming to you with such a beautiful and positive attitude about it all. I mean, you took what was challenge and adversity and turned it around so quickly by sharing that story. I mean, everybody has their own version of a house fire in their life, right? Well, it's not necessarily an actual fire, but people go through things. And when you just model that sort of approach, it's like making lemonade.
Oh, totally. And I wish humans are kind of odd because they almost have to kind of go through something bad to kind of understand it and get the message. But that's what I'm trying to do, especially when I'm working with Indigenous youth or youth in general, is just trying to let them know, you don't have to succumb if bad things are going on around you. You don't have to succumb to that, and you can come out amazing. And I'm here if you need like a motivator or like for me to tell you that I believe in you, because that's what I've had, and I've just been so lucky. And all it takes is that one person to be like, you can do it.
Yeah. Jennifer says Osho is a blessing.
Okay, Mom.
And just to drive it home, said it a second time, just to make sure. Yeah. You feel that, right? How cool is that? You know, I mean, obviously we all have people. Have you had special mentors in your life that have helped you to become who you are and to have that attitude?
Oh, totally. Well, I'd say my number one is my mom. She was actually
I would say so. She's your number one fan as well. So
yeah, she was a single mom, and she raised me and my three siblings pretty much on her own, and my aunt and my grandma. But I watched her just do everything she could um, to survive, basically. Like I remember her working at like 7-Eleven and A&W and things like that. I just saw that thirst and that hard work effort, and that's what I try to do. And I think that's where mostly I get it from. And my sister too, she's actually the HR director for the Squamish Nation, and she's big on education, and just it's just so amazing to have those type of women around me. And I have business coaches who are incredible.
that's so awesome. And what about for you? Like, kind of, you know, you have these mentors above you, but obviously you're passing things down. Have you had any, is there anyone in your life where you're really kind of wanting to pass, like where you have that relationship to connect with and you want to see them grow and become all that they can be?
Oh, definitely. I've kind of taken younger DJs or any type of DJ under my wing, because that was what was done for me. I actually worked at a DJ school that I went to in Vancouver for a bit, and so yeah, anything I can do to try to help the younger generation understand this industry. And I'm kind of sort of mentoring a DJ from the Squamish Nation as well, and just trying to bring them along to see kind of what I do and what I have to do to get the jobs that I get. But I'm really proud of him, and he's stepping up, and just any opportunity I have, I just try to text him and say, oh, you know, are you available? Do you want to come out? And he's just so eager to learn and get out there. Yeah, for sure.
It's awesome. Yeah, that's, well, I mean, to have to that enthusiasm and being eager to learn seems to be that theme, both for you, for your mom and how hard she worked, and then for anyone else that you're working with. It's like, go out and get it and learn and grow and look at the doors that open as a result.
Yeah, and I just remember being in that position, you know, wanting to DJ, and just you feel like you're looking around or you're messaging the other DJs and like no one's getting back to you. It's like, oh, like I really want to do this, but like who's gonna help me? And if people actually come to me and be like, listen, this is really what I want to do, and I just want to know how you do it, and like absorb everything that you do, I'm like, okay, this person is for real. Like they
You froze there a bit.
yeah, it's back now.
Yeah, you froze for a second. So said this person was, and then I missed the end of that.
I'm not sure, but I was just
I think
kind of
the essence.
okay.
Yeah.
I was just kind of talking about how I remember being in that position, and I think that's what we have to do to inspire the youth, is just remember what it's like. Remember what it's like to be that young. I'm talking like an elder right now, but
And I mean, I'm feeling you know, your presence and what you're sharing. I'm sure that you are growing in so much wisdom. I mean, I don't know how old you are. I don't know if elder is just around age, but you know, you are sharing wisdom and teachings that have been given to you, right?
yeah, totally. And that's what it's all about. Being Indigenous, we're taught from very young age. You pass down the teachings that you've been taught. And I think I kind of have a modern spin on it, like even if it has to do with DJing, not so much like culture and stuff, but like the cultural aspect is there, passing down what you know.
Right. Do you find that there's sometimes, like within the music industry, but I also know, like particularly for DJs or things, like especially in a time like this, when we start to open up again, like work can be hard to come by. So it's really nice to see such openness to mentor when some others might be closed because there's a competitiveness to the industry, right? Have you experienced that as well? And you've kind of just decided that, no, this is how I operate. I'm open.
Well, yeah, totally. And I get that a lot. It's just like, people or DJs will, once I'm mentoring, they're like, how am I going to be different? Like, how am I going to stand out? And there's no like one easy answer to that. And yeah, I totally get that. Like at first, it's almost like it's a secret society and people don't want to teach you because they're scared that you're going to steal their gigs. And it's like, my attitude is, there's enough gigs for everybody to go around. So sharing the information, I don't know if it's good karma or whatever it is. And people talk about that. It's just the competitive. What is your competitive advantage? Okay, taking back to business school there. And that's your first response when you first start. It's like, I'm amazing. I'm DJ Osho. Like, why wouldn't they hire me? But then it's not like that at all.
Well, and it comes back again to embracing differences. It's not, I mean, for me personally, like the word competitive advantage is one thing, but it's like, what is the essence of you, or what's your story that makes you who you are, so that you have a gift to bring that no one else can bring? And like already your diversity, if anyone's just tuning in now, I need them to see your full banner. So hold on. But your diversity makes beautiful. So that, and then everything you're telling about your story, like that's you. So you're bringing you to the music. Yeah, that's so cool.
And something I tell my students too about competition is no one's going to play like you. No one's going to play that song like you. No one's going to choose those songs. No one's going to mix like that. Like no one's going to do that scratch. Like it's different. You're going to be different no matter what.
Yeah. And you're an artist. So if you're actually taking it as art and you're creating something, you're creating a mood, you're creating an atmosphere, you're creating the set list and the flow of the night. Like, yeah, there's a real art to it. It's beautiful.
It's so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. The what's your, like, coming out of this? And I mean, you've been working with business coaches, you've had all these other doors open, you're doing the voiceovers, acting. If all of a sudden this ended tomorrow and you could go back to quote unquote normal, what would be your dream, or is there something that you're wanting to see come for you in the next like few years? Is there something you're reaching towards?
That's a really good question. I do talk about this. This has been my dream since I was 13, and I see it all the time. I dream about it. Is DJing for Janet Jackson. It's what I want to do. Like that's my.
Oh my gosh! So, are you just hoping that one day you'll go knock on their door? You'll be at the house when you're visiting your dad, and Janet just walks in. You're like, Janet, I've been waiting. I come here every year waiting for you.
Well, you know what's interesting?
Wow.
I was DJing a few weeks ago at the Virtual Powwow Festival. I actually have a picture of her in my living room because she's the goddess. And I posted it to Instagram and I tagged her and she shared it. So maybe it's not her, maybe it was her team working for her, but I was almost doing backflips because that is like the 13-year-old dream, is to DJ for her at least once, like some way, somehow.
Have you ever directly reached out? Like, have you, other than that sort of tag?
No, I haven't.
Maybe you should.
I know, that's, and she was actually supposed to, I had tickets to her concert for August, but I believe it's canceled. But yeah, I'm just trying to put the vibes out there, but that's what a lot of people said to me, is to just reach out. It might happen.
Well, and your story. I mean, there's so many elements of your story. That's your connection. There's connection points there, right? Like, yeah, you never know. That could happen.
Yeah,
I mean, what is she doing right now? She's probably just sitting at home too. I'm sure she could hop on a Zoom call with you about it, right?
Totally.
She's not busy touring.
Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, so when all of this is over, you've been invited to India. So hi Gokul. So nice to have your comment here. So maybe you can go DJ in India. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Sounds like yeah. Well, yeah. Right. So I mean, okay. Janet Jackson might even have a world tour stop, somewhere in India. So maybe that's the alignment there. You never know.
Yeah, I never miss a concert when she's in town. I actually went to Vegas last summer, kind of followed her because it was like her wrap-up tour, but then she just ends up touring again. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
So cool. All right, favorite Janet song?
I would say If.
Yes, mine too.
It's the arm, the dance. Oh, love it.
Hands
Love
down.
it.
Hands down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Velvet Rope and also Janet, like those albums are so good. But yeah, I love that you said that. My favorite. Oh wow. Well, Janet, if you are listening, I'm hoping that eventually these DWF live interviews just become the hookup for like all of these creative collaborations, because you're going to work with Janet Jackson. Pearl Wenjack wants to meet Oprah. Like, I'm pretty sure we can hook all of this up. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And Michelle Obama's up there too. Barack Obama, Oprah. Yeah, all of them.
Okay. Well, they're all invited. And Brad Baker, who's watching too. I mean, so many people are connected to the Gord Downie and Chani Wenjack Fund. It's also, of course, because of musician Gord Downie, of the Tragically Hip, and the story that he told of Chani Wenjack through Secret Path. And Chani, of course, for those who might just be tuning in and learning this story, was an Indigenous boy who ran away from Indian residential school, trying to make his way home to family, and unfortunately passed away on that journey home and never made it. And he was one of 150,000 Indigenous children that were taken from their families during the settlers coming to Canada and trying to assimilate Indigenous people into the broader Eurocentric culture. So it's really amazing, because that's a story that so many people didn't know. And through Gord Downie learning it himself, going on the journey of creating Secret Path, and then sharing it with the world, there's been people that were so connected to him as a musician that are now connected to this cause and helping to forward the journey toward reconciliation, because they see that it matters. And I think some of the most powerful artists out there are the ones where they find something that connects to their hearts, and then they bring that to people so that people can resonate not just with the music that they're creating, but also with the story, and it helps to make the world better. So yeah, I know for you, like you were talking about as an advocate around understanding Two-Spirit and also identity around being of mixed descent as well. Like, there's a story there.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting about residential school, because my mom and my aunties actually went to residential school in North Vancouver. It was day school, but it was still a residential school. And just the other day, I was explaining that to my friend, and the shock, the look of shock. She's not Indigenous, but the look of shock on her face, like she was like, right here in North Vancouver. I'm like, yeah, right in our backyard. It wasn't that long ago. Yeah. And it's interesting the effects of it. And I'm a part of the first generation that didn't go to residential school. So it's interesting working with elders and kind of like the path line down to the youth. It's where people have gone and that are still affected to this day. And it's about breaking the cycle. And I really love working with youth. Like, they keep me so young, and they're absolutely hilarious. I think the reason why I get along with them so well is because I'm a big one. I've aged out a little bit, but I'm a big kid.
Yeah. I love it. Love that big kid joy. It's so fun. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, the last residential school closed in 1996. That was not very long ago. And, the challenges of what happened with that persist. So intergenerational trauma, the impacts on community, like, this is not something of the past, because the effects are still here now. So for people to understand, it's so important. And again, that's why we have the Legacy Schools program, because we're educating the younger generation through Secret Path, other resources. And again, Brad Baker and all the teachers that are part of that district have been part of like disseminating that information to the students and being such passionate advocates to support people to learn. Right? And Yeah. And then again, these artist ambassador interviews, it's been so cool to bring these online because you and I never would have met had it not been for this pandemic experience, because normally our program goes right into the schools. They actually bring the artists physically into the school and they meet with the classroom and share their story and share some music. And then the students engage in reconciliations. But now, like, we've been doing it this way, and thanks like the program funding from RBC Future Launch, they were cool with us moving this online. And now doing it online means that this playback will be there for students and classrooms, you know, when they return, and it'll reach so many more people. So what a blessing that it like opened up that way, right?
Oh, totally. And sorry, I'm just remembering here you were talking about the Two-Spirit kind of advocacy that I do as well. And that's another thing that's tough for youth, because I work with a lot of queer youth, and talking about being misgendered and just not really knowing who you are at such a young age. Like, I've gone through that. I've done it. I've been there. Like, I'm going to say my age here. I'm 37, and it's just now I'm really starting to get comfortable with who I am. And I know what Two-Spirit is. For people that don't know what Two-Spirit is, it's basically I have two spirits inside, and one of them is masculine and one of them is feminine. So that's little O-rings inside, and they just mix together. Sometimes one overbears the other. They fight a little bit, so it makes things a little complicated sometimes. But I know what that's like, and I feel like I have to share it. And I know how hard it is being a youth and just being afraid to be out and not being able to be yourself. Like, I don't like hearing those stories. It's just like, you're so special and you have something so special inside of you, and just the world needs to see it.
Absolutely. Well, everything you've been sharing and how much you're sharing of yourself and letting the world see you and hear your message has been really inspiring today. Truly appreciate you taking the time to chat and connect with us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been awesome.
Yeah, lots of fun. I want you, as I wrap up, stay on for a second, because we're going to talk about strategy of how to get to Janet Jackson. Right?
Okay.
We'll work that out for you. But then the deal is that then we need to get her on an interview to like give a shout out to the Gord Downie and Shani One Jack Fund and understand the work that we're doing. Right?
Okay.
All right. All right. Well, we are so excited to connect with you again, and we'll actually bring you into a school once this is all over.
Awesome.
But we'll chat soon, Irene. And everyone, we just wanted to say a huge thank you for tuning in. We are going to be going live a couple more times this week, and with a very special interview on Monday as well. And then we're actually going to be going into June, which is National Indigenous History Month, and an opportunity for us to learn a lot about different Indigenous cultures across Canada or across Turtle Island. So please tune in on Wednesday and on Friday, again on Monday, and we have some very special guests for you there. Have a great day, everyone. Take care, and thank you again for tuning in.